Ancient African boat technology. The prophet Isaiah mentioned the expertise of the Cushites when he noted in the Bible in Isaiah book 18, chapter 12, that country of the whirling winds, beyond the rivers of Cush, who sent ambassadors by sea and papyrus ships over the waters. This indicates that as late as the Meroitic Cushite Empire, papyrus boats were still being used by Africans. Eurocentrists claim Africans have never had nautical knowledge. This is a lie. Africans have been making boats and selling throughout Africa and the world for at least 100,000 years. Yes, 100,000 years. The existence of Africans selling around the world 100,000 years ago is supported by the fact that we find that Africans went to Brazil and Crete 100,000 years ago. It appears that during the prehistoric period of the Nile Valley, boats were the major method of communication among the various peoples. If you look at this map of the mega lakes that once existed across Africa, you can see that Africa was very wet. And this may explain why we find so many boats engraved in rocks in the Saharan desert. This is supported by the abundance of boats found on ancient Nile Valley pottery. Africans developed this nautical knowledge by communicating between villages and cities by the numerous rivers and lakes that crisscrossed Africa. It's interesting to note that you could at one time travel from South Africa to the ancient Green Sahara by boat, sailing along lakes Madagascar, Chad, and Mega Congo. There were other lakes down in Namibia and South Africa. The expanse of these lakes were greater than the distance across the Atlantic Ocean between Africa and Brazil. Yes, these lakes were larger than trying to take a ship across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to Brazil. This nautical knowledge gained during millennia of sea travel within Africa along these gigantic, massive mega lakes explains why Africans have never been afraid of sea travel. During the Aquilithic period, the people in the Sahara maintained well-developed trade links with the East African homelands by boats, which could travel across Africa along the numerous streams and rivers which dotted the more watered Middle African environment 8,000 years ago. These people at that time came from the same cultural and genetic background. We can hypothesize that they would have had similar terms for sea-going vessels or boats. To test this hypothesis, we must look at the history of naval technology in Middle Africa, the original homeland of the Comedian, Sumerian, Dravidian-speaking people. Boat building has been known in Africa for thousands of years. Reed boats and reed boat illustrations are found throughout Middle Africa. For example, today reed boats are still constructed by the Mandi-speaking Bozo people and the Dravidian people speaking in India. Because the early civilization builders in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, Africa, and China at the 3500 BC originated in the Saharan region, there existed great similarity between boats engraved on rocks in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, India, and ancient boats in the Saharan and Nile Valley. The boat has played an important role in Africa since prehistoric times. As early as the Nagata culture, 4000 to 3500 BC, Africans were depicting boats on their pottery. The same style boats are found in the Sahara at Tinzarif. These boats, dating between 3500 and 3000 BC, is evidence of the use of many boats throughout Middle Africa, especially sails. And these boats are found on much of the pottery in Nubia from ancient Egypt. Walter Ike noted that apart from human and animal figures appearing on the Nubian rock drawings, the most dominant motif is that of reed boats. Many of these boats, like the boats at Nagata, too had sails. Henry Lahaut during the 1956 expedition to the highland Sicily region of Algeria, also found reed boats engravings. Boats with sails were still being used throughout Africa around 1500 BC. Queen Hatshepsut of Egypt recorded in her temple at Deir el-Bahri a punt-tight ship which had sails and 60 oars. This indicates that African ships were usually prepared for sailing the ocean through the power of the wind and or by sail. Punt is believed to be the ancient Somali-Ethiopian coast. The people who presently live in Ethiopia call the Puntite Empire the Arwe Empire. Other examples of reed boats have been found in Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. It is among the engraved Saharan boats that we see the first use of masts and sails, along with cabins on the decks of ships, as early as 3100 BC. As a result, the ancient Nubian, Kemet, Sumerian, Dravidian people share the same name for boat. Some of the boats are kind of different, but you find that all of these people had a similar name for boat. The Dravidian Tamil name for boat was Kalan. The Sumerian name for boat was Kalem. The Mandi name for boat was Kulu. So we see in the sense that all of these boats, or names for boats, had the KL consonants. Papyrus boats were capable of traveling thousands of miles over the open seas. Eratosthenes, chief librarian of the Egyptian Papyrus Library in Alexandria, said that papyrus boats with the same sails and riggings on the Nile sailed as far as Ceylon and the mouth of the Ganges in this valley. In summary, the rock out from the Sahara across Mesopotamia and India are identical. It indicates that during ancient times, each community, that is, in Nubia, ancient Egypt, Sumer, and even among the Indus Valley and South Indians, had the same boats. It indicates that these people, in a sense, had marine architects, shipbuilders, and expert sailors. The presence of an elevated bow and stern and the peculiar bolstering of stern and fuse for the rudder oar indicate that ships used by the Nubian, Kemetic, Sumerian, Dravidian people could sail great distances. These people used their boats for navigation on the open sea. As a consequence of the shared term for boat among the Dravidian and Sumerian people, we must accept the theory that these people developed their seafaring skills in a common homeland before they migrated to Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley 5,000 years ago. This common homeland was the Nile Valley.